What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another Hot Toys 1/6 scale figure unboxing. And this is a Spider-Man week because on Monday I dropped my Spider-Man brand new day suit reaction and set photo leaks, and we went through all the things that happened with Spider-Man over the last week. So I figured it's a good week to do some Spider-Man figures that I've been putting off. So yesterday the Green Goblin came out, and today we are looking at the Spider-Man No Way Home movie promo edition, sideshow exclusive Spider-Man battling version from Spider-Man No Way Home. So when was he battling in this suit? I thought this was the Spider-Man Far From Home battle damaged suit. But the battling version, Spider-Man No Way Home, very interesting. You can see up here, top corner, it's a sideshow exclusive. You can see him on front of the box there, throwing a web, a pumpkin bomb in the top corner. It looks like he's coming through one of Doctor Strange's portals, as well as one of Dr. Ock's tentacle arms. It says MMS 625 on top there. That's MMS 631, so only 6 figures away from Spider-Man battling version and Green Goblin. Very interesting. So it does say movie promo edition. On the back, Hot Toys presents movie masterpiece series Spider-Man battling version. Legal information on the back. The shot of Spider-Man on the side of the box going, "What the bleep?" when Mysterio tells the world who Peter Parker is. And yeah, just a little bit of his foot on the side of the box there from that crazy pose that he's doing on the front of the box. But this is a thicker box, not necessarily wide, but thick. So let's slide off the top and see what this figure is looking like. This isn't my first Spider-Man, so I'm very curious to see what's different about this one. Oh, so it's not clean. It's got some weathering on the suit itself. Interesting, very interesting. It comes with a phone, multiple different hands. A lot of the Spider-Mans come with many hands. Very cool. Maybe it comes with the box cadaver thing that was supposed to send all the variants home that Doctor Strange had. Very interesting. You can see the purple sky that was the variants breaking through into Spider-Man's world in Spider-Man No Way Home on the side there. Same thing on the box with the Spider-Man logo and the purple, sky breaking through. Same thing on the side with a little bit of, you can see Doctor Strange's kind of magic. Kind of the same exact box design for the No Way Home Green Goblin, so like to see that the similar sets from the similar movies are carrying over the same type of vibe throughout the boxes and figures. But let's pop open this box and see what this figure looks like. Alright, so it comes in 2 different sections. This bottom section, and why this figure is so thick is the base it comes with. Look at that thing. That is huge. It's like this slanted brick wall. Very cool. I mean, I am definitely somebody that is here for the diorama bases. I think they just add such a vibe to the figure and a setting. You know what I mean? Okay, yeah, this figure's from that movie, but where in that movie is this pose from, right? And it's gonna be, I'm gonna be able to set this up not only as a Spider-Man figure, but as somebody with a dope base. Very cool. Now, I do wish that a deluxe version like this, and as big a box as this is, that it did come with a normal, just hexagon base as well, just in case I don't have room for this big old base. But it does seem like there is not only one shorter flight pole, but a flight pole that connects into a flight pole because of this base, because it's extra tall. And then, that's hopefully going to be able to get you whatever crazy pose you need for your Spider-Man. With the waist grabber does seem padded. The spring seems pretty tight, so I don't know if you want to use that because it could potentially damage the suit, but that's up to you. A couple of web effects. I do want to take a look at this bad boy here. This box, this cadaver. What was the name of this? I haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home in a while. The Doctor Strange something cadaver demaver, paver, smaver. Certainly that prop from the movie, right? So you can have him posed up with him holding this or whatever, and have him no, Doctor Strange, I need to help bring everybody back. You know, like, they're gonna die if we just send them back. That's their fate. If they die, they die. You know, like, I couldn't believe Doctor Strange said that in that film. Like, if they die, they die. What is this, Rocky? Oh, God. But there is 2 head sculpts. One of them is a half-masked head sculpt. Very cool. With like half of Tom Holland's face out there. I don't have a half-masked head sculpt that I actually wear, so maybe this is it. I mean, it does capture Tom Holland's likeness very, very well. But something about, I don't think we've ever seen him put the mask up on half of his head. I just don't think that's something we've ever seen Spider-Man do in the Spider-Man movies. He's either mask on or masked off, you know what I mean? Like, do we ever see him wearing half of his mask? I don't think so. Alright, all the plastic taken off of him here. I do see that normal little lip of the Spider-Man mask. Honestly, the detail on this suit is quite impressive in, like, the feeling of it. Like, yeah, you can genuinely feel like the texture of this suit, and it does seem to be slightly battle damaged with some black, you know, weathering all over it on the back of the suit. Not on the hands, on any of the hands, I don't think. So, you know, like, the suit's damaged, not crazy damage though, like just enough damage, and then the hands are extra clean. So that would be maybe something I would tell Hot Toys, like, hey, maybe battle damage the hands if they're going to be battle damaged as well. But the ratchets and the hips are clicky, the shoulders are also clicky. It does feel like a very sturdy figure. Like, if I wanted just to stand him up, he could, no problem. You know, but also seems like a figure that could get into some very crazy fancy poses. So let's take everything out that this battling damaged Spider-Man comes with and lay out all of his accessories in front of me on the table here and see everything that this Spider-Man from No Way Home battling damaged comes with. Alright everybody, we got the Spider-Man battling version laid out in front of us here. And honestly, it is like a battling version, taking a closer look at the suit itself. It does have some damage all over, a little bit on the mask, not too much, a little bit on the back of the mask, you know, a little bit on this side, a little bit over here, a little bit over here, a little bit on the symbol. But because the suit is mostly black, you know, like, the only real places you could put that battle damage was on the red. I mean, a little bit on the black here and a little bit on the black there. And it shows up on camera a little bit better than it does in person. You know, I'm able to see a little bit more scuffing and damage from the camera, but in person I can't really see that detail in there. But overall, pretty cool figure. You know, it's not necessarily his upgraded suit, so it's a little bit different. And this is from No Way Home instead of Far From Home. So, like, if I did want to get the Far From Home suit that's pretty much this one but not battle damaged, I could. Or I think there's an even more battle damaged Far From Home one from that scene at the end of the movie where he kisses MJ for the first time. And yeah, I'm not disliking the suit. I do love the seamless ankles. I'm pretty sure is toe articulation. Yeah, so you get toe and foot and ankle and swivel side to side and all that articulation you need. Some big old ratchets, so nice flexibility there. The only thing I'd say is, you know, when posing, don't leave them there for a long period of time or you will end up with these creases. I mean, even just moving him once, you know, I'm sure you see the crease lines starting to form. But, I mean, at least they form, like, where they're supposed to in, like, the crotch and hip region and, like, the high traffic areas, you know. But, yeah, I'd probably be careful bending the arms as well. You know, you can have a full bend, but the material itself, you know, you don't want to mess up over long periods of time. So I'm not sure which pose I'll end up with. Probably something not too crazy because I love how clean this suit looks, even though it's slightly battle damaged. I'm not sure if I love the other head sculpt this figure comes with, but I think I have a spare Tom Holland head sculpt laying around that I might need to use. So maybe we try that out and we'll take a closer look at this figure when we're trying out other accessories on him and comparing him to other Spider-Man figures. But let's take a look at these other accessories. Of course, this ginormous base comes with a flight pole just coming up behind it, and then a flight pole that connects into the flight pole to then attach to Spider-Man to hold him on top of this base. I think I'm going to try and get him situated on this base in a way where he doesn't need a flight pull at all, and he's just standing on his own, because he does seem to have sturdy enough joints to do something like that. He comes with a whole bunch of webbing. This one is still probably my favorite web, because it looks like he's grabbing a bunch of web around his hand and then still maybe, you know, whipping away. There's some other web effects, this little like shooting web. I have said in my other videos, I don't love the way that the web effects look. I mean, they look all right, but as like display function, I don't really love the longer effects with like stuff like this attached to it. It starts drooping. It doesn't look very real. There's, of course, the web shooting functions that attach to the hands. I'll show you how that works when we get closer into the figure. He has a whole bunch of his hands. He's got 2 fist hands. He's got a fist that the webs goes through. He's got 2 whipping hands. He does have a phone hand, which I'll show you that in a second, and a peace hand. And in the movie, he's holding the phone and throwing up the piece with the other hand, taking a selfie. I thought that would have been something you can able to do, but this peace hand is for the left hand, and so is the phone hands. You can't have him holding the phone and throwing the piece because they're for the same side. I wish this peace hand was for the right hand, and then you'd be able to do that pose from the movie. And then I don't know if you can read the text message on screen there, but it says, "On way, 2 minutes," or 2 mins, and she's like, "Don't text and swing." So, you know, just kind of funny that they have that little text in a hand to hold the phone. Although I wish they had that ability to have the peace hand in the other hand to be able to do that Spider-Man pose from that movie. Although I think that's at the end of Far From Home, which is the beginning of No Way Home, but, you know, I don't know if this is actually No Way Home accurate, having this text. And then he has the 2 splayed out hands as well, kind of like reaching out or maybe grabbing something or high-fiving somebody maybe. And then he has his different eye functions, the ones that he comes with, some wide open eyes, and then slightly more squinted than that, and then fully closed, like he's using his spidey sense to beat Mysterio. And then, before we look at more detail in that base, he does come with a Boxa Cadaver Smabber Dadaver that Doctor Strange, you know, is supposed to be sending back the other variants with. And I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be like a button on this somewhere, but I don't see no button. But also, I just had a Green Goblin that got unboxed yesterday. So the pumpkin bombs that he comes with, they're supposed to be able to, you know, or at least in the movie, a pumpkin bomb gets inside of here and explodes it. You might be able to wedge in that pumpkin bomb. This is the best I could do. You know, like it's in there, but it's not. There's not many other slots that it might fit in. You know, there's only like the one side where it fits, and it doesn't go all the way in because of the little box that's on the inside of this box. But, you know, nice little green detail. I like that each side has a slightly different look to it, you know. That one kind of looks like the window on the Sanctum Sanctorum type of thing. But yeah, I actually quite like the little accessory, and this will be posed in his hand at some point, like in the promo art. But yeah, if you wanted to, because the Green Goblin comes with an extra pumpkin bomb, you could have it displayed with the box here from the battling version of Spider-Man No Way Home, and that's just what I might do. Now, taking a closer look at this Tom Holland head sculpt, it does look spot on, and it looks pretty damn good, although the half-masked look doesn't look quite right. I mean, the mask itself is like shiny compared to the rest of the suit, so it doesn't like quite match in that sense, but I don't know if that's the biggest deal. You know, it is slightly battle damaged, so at least it matches the suit in that sense, but I just don't think we've ever seen a Spider-Man with his mask half on his head. You know, like the whole point is to keep the secret identity, so he always has his mask on, and then if he's fighting with the mask off, you know, he's going to have it all the way off. He's not going to have it up on his head just like this, right? I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing a Spidey like this, but as far as my other Spider-Mans on the shelf, I might as well rep him with this head sculpt because it would stand out a little bit as the only one that I have like this, because all my other ones either have the original mask that it came with, the Spider-Man mask, or a Tom Holland head sculpt. So this might be a good little solution to have a little best of both worlds, where it's kind of Spider-Man, kind of Tom Holland, and, you know, still represents the figure well. But all right, let's talk about this big chunky base. I mean, some people don't love the diorama bases. They just think they're clunky, they don't have much room. If you don't have the room for them in your display, then they don't work. And I do wish that it came with just a normal hexagon base with the crotch grabber, just as a backup in case you didn't have the room for this. You know, maybe you thought you were ordering the standard edition, you accidentally got the deluxe version, and then you end up with a big old base like this, and you have nothing else to be able to pose him on. So, you know, like, I either have this as an option or this, you know, like, there is no Spider-Man base plate, there is no Spider-Man that says it on here, you know, but it does look cool, and I do like that it's like half of a building and like the awning of a building, and it's like falling apart. And some people said the detail doesn't look that bad. In person, it looks pretty damn good, you know. Maybe it could use some more paint washes and stuff, but the feeling of it feels like brick and feels like, you know, the proper materials, and feels like, you know, chopped up stone. And then you can see on the bottom there just a little bit of pad. It is kind of at this crazy angle, but when you put it down, it sits flat, but the angle is still crazy. So that ankle is going to be at a crazy angle no matter what pose you get him into. And then you can see in the back there, that's where the flight pole screws into, and then another flight pole screws into that flight pole to be able to get you the angle up on top here. I don't know. I don't know if I'll be using the flight pole. I'll definitely be using this base and see if we can't get him into some crazy poses on top of it. But we'll do that next. All right, everybody. We got these battling damaged Spider-Man from Hot Toys going around on the turntable here. Standing freely, I might add, in most of these poses. Does not need the flight pole waist grabber to be able to pose him successfully. He can stand on his own. The joints are strong enough. And I will say, if you leave this figure posed long enough, it probably will damage the suit. But if you want to leave him in more of a neutral pose, like he is here, standing on top of the base, holding onto the box, then yeah, you could probably not damage the suit so much. And then the second pose we have here, he's kind of landing on top of the base in like a dynamic Spidey pose. His hand trying to get down in the middle, but you know, you kind of get what I was going for there with the Spidey landing. And then I have him in his third pose, perched on the front of the base, and also like a Spider-Man pose. And this one, I was definitely not expecting it to be able to stand on its own, but it still was able to. With the couple of lips on the front of it, you can make him pose like he's stuck to the side of the building. The next pose, he's standing on the edge, texting MJ, wondering where she's at and where they gotta meet up next to get the multiple variants from No Way Home back to their own universes. And then I have him in a swinging pose. This one you do need the waist grabber, but he is able to get this dynamic swinging pose to make it look like he's soaring in the skies, swinging from a web above this diorama base. And then my final pose I have here, I just wanted to go with something maybe a more of a neutral pose with his kind of more angry eyes and a fist, and with the cube in the other hand, the box thing, and without the flight pole standing him up, I think he looks great. And with the slight battle damaged and the slight, you know, squinting eye with the more angry eye, I think this figure looks really great in just a subtle pose like this, where like, you know, that feels like Spider-Man standing in front of me on top of this diorama base. And that diorama base does add quite a bit of height to this figure. So, you know, if you don't have the height or, you know, the space for it, I understand why you would go for the standard edition rather than the, you know, deluxe version. But overall, for me, I really, really liked this suit, and I think it posed great. It went together very easily. I thought the wrist pegs for the different hands swapped in and out very easily. The suit doesn't seem to be wrinkling so crazily bad, and I was getting this figure into some really aggressive poses. So the suit seems to be holding up quite well, and seems like it could maybe handle some of those poses for a longer period of time. But I wouldn't suggest doing that for a long period of time and leaving those creases in there for a long time. I feel like if you switch up the figure every now and again, even when they are creased
you know, excessively, they kind of heal themselves over time when you kind of straighten them back out. Like, I had my vision down there was, you know, posed for like the first 3-4 months I had him in this like super aggressive flying pose. And when I took him off of his flight grabber, he was, you know, damaged from the flight grabber on his waist, and the wrinkling was crazy. So I kind of have him in more of a museum pose, and he's kind of come back, but there is still some damaged wrinkling on his arms. Where this suit and some of my other suits, I haven't seen such crazy damage from posing, but I've also been cautious enough with some of them to leave them in more of a, you know, museum pose, so I'm not damaging the suit. But some of these figures, like Spider-Man, you know, they feel like they can do some pretty aggressive poses, and you're not going to damage the suit over time. But, you know, comment below if you've had that problem. I know some of the older Spider-Man suits, they get damaged over time, and then they're, you know, not fixable. But this being a newer suit, I don't know, I think they did a pretty damn good job in like the way that the ankles are seamless, and you have toe articulation, and yet you can still, you know, pose this on that base. And that his feet are at a crazy angle for him to be able to stand there with no crotch grabber, no flight pole, you know, and just being able to stand on its own. I'm very impressed with how sturdy this figure is, where some of them aren't like that. Some of them fall over by the slightest breeze, you know what I mean? But why don't we toss this Spider-Man figure next to some other Hot Toys Marvel figures and some other Spider-Man adjacent and Spider-Man characters that I have, and see what this suit looks like next to those. Oh, right, I love this figure comparison here. Even though this isn't really Tom's villain, I think the Green Goblin costume looks so sick, and just the way that the red pops next to the green and the way that the green pops next to the red. I mean, these two characters are so iconic. Like, now I need to get the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Tobey's Spider-Man Hot Toys figure to be able to put next to this Norman Osborn Green Goblin, because it looks perfect. But if you guys want to see the full Hot Toys unboxing and posing and doing all the crazy stuff for this figure, that video came out yesterday, so go check that out if you haven't. But let's toss another Spider-Man next to this battling version suit and another Spider-Man suit from Spider-Man No Way Home. So not from No Way Home, but from Far From Home, where this also battling suit is kind of from. I mean, it is slightly different from the upgraded suit from Far From Home. I mean, just a couple of little details on this suit are very different, but like not much. But the Tom Holland head sculpt on this suit probably would look good. I never tried it out myself, but I do really like the way that Tom Holland's head sculpt looks on the stealth suit version of Spider-Man from, you know, his Night Monkey suit from Far From Home. But let's look at the actual suit I wanted to put him next to from Spider-Man No Way Home. So now, seeing these two suits next to each other, I think I need to grab the black and gold suit from Spider-Man No Way Home, and maybe also the post-credit scene red and blue suit, so I can have all of the Tom Holland No Way Home Spider-Man suits, because this battling version suit is pretty much the integrated suit, except Doc Ock took the nanotechnology from the Iron Spider suit. Oh, I don't have that one either. Iron Spider suit also appears in No Way Home for a quick moment too. So maybe I need to get the Iron Spider and the black and gold version, and then have all of the No Way Home figures. And then that will make me go get Electro and Doc Ock and, you know, those things, and then Tobey and Andrew as well. But Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters, so I might need to complete the line with them. But, you know, this side by side of these two suits, you could see that the integrated suit, maybe the blacks look a little darker, but maybe that could just be because the battling version suit maybe has some, you know, dirt washes over it or something. Or it could just be the way that the light's hitting it. But the red and gold, right, like the gold little accents came from the Iron Spider suit. And it was after he fixed Doc Ock like put the nanotech back onto the suit for him. So, you know, the integrated suit coming with Doc Ock's arms still attacking him doesn't make a lot of sense, because at that point in the movie, you know what I mean, Doc Ock was on their side. But still a really cool diorama base, but it is ginormous and clunky. I don't know if I like the Doc Ock ones better just because they have Doc Ock arms and those two little pumpkin bombs. but the actual, like, just simplicity of the base that the battling version comes with, and just how it's like this bigger, chunkier base, but it's at this crazy angle, and like you can understand what that is a little bit more, you know. You're like, oh, that's a piece of a building that's maybe falling over, where like that's like, sure, maybe some scaffolding that got ripped in half, and two, you know, Doc Ock arms coming out of nowhere, and pumpkin bombs having like a smoke trail coming out of nowhere, and some sand on the ground and some broken rocks. Like, doesn't necessarily depict like a building or something, you know what I mean? Like, it depicts like something from the movie, but not like as good a base as they could have done. I don't know. The diorama bases are hit or miss sometimes for me, and sometimes I hate them, sometimes I love them. And for these two, I do like them, but I'm not sure if I love them, you know what I mean? But as far as the suits go, I love the Spider-Man suits. I love how they pose. I love how they look. And this pose that I have for the integrated Spider-Man suit, I might need to change at some point, but I just love how it looks. So, you know, I haven't changed it yet, but maybe that needs a little reposing video for the integrated Spider-Man suit. Comment below if that's something you'd want to see. Maybe an entire, you know, room reposing video or something like that, or maybe just the Spider-Man figs, or maybe just the Marvel, or whatever. You know, comment below if there's other Hot Toys adjacent videos you would want to see other than just unboxings. But I think it's time to put this bad boy on the shelf and see what he's looking like. All right, so my Spider-Man section of things with the Tom Holland of it all, and then I got the PlayStation Spider-Man 2 Venom, and then I got the aftermarket third-party unlicensed Toby wrestling suit, which I absolutely love. And then now sliding up, we got the Iron Man Mark 6 that came out last week. If you haven't seen that Hot Toys unboxing video, go check that out. We got a aftermarket Deadpool over here because this shelf did have Shang-Chi on it, and then did have the couple over here. So now the couple has moved down. Shang-Chi has moved over to this shelf with the Avengers Endgame, so maybe this is kind of like an Avengers Doomsday shelf with a little bit of Thor Ragnarok back there. That might need to get rearranged soon. I got Hawkeye and his girls with him up there. Of course, the two Captain Americas still. Some Avengers figures, and then Loki and Bucky. Oh, and then, of course, Deadpool and some Wolverine action. But Green Goblin will be placed on the shelf in his video, so you'll be able to see what that looks like with Spider-Man, Iron Man, all the Spider-Man figures, and Green Goblin on the shelf. So go check that video out if you haven't. That came out yesterday. But yeah, just barely fitting with the diorama base, but I do like how he fills the whole area quite nicely. So yeah, and just barely has enough room above his head. So that Spider-Man figure is looking mean, and I hope he doesn't take a tumble from up there, because that would be a high dive. But yeah, that is very cool. I love the way that the battling damage just catches just a little bit of light, and you can see just a little bit of damage, and he's pissed and he's ready to fight whoever is coming to mess with MJ and that box and his universe. But that's it from me, y'all. Thank you guys so much for coming on by. If you made it to this point in the video, I highly appreciate you. And if you want to support my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. Once again, my name is Big Cam. Thank you guys so much for coming on by. If you would like to support the channel, the best way to do that is liking this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hitting that bell so you don't miss future Hot Toys unboxings and you get the notifications when those come out. Once again, my name is Big Cam, and I will see you beautiful people in the next video. Peace.